it's very difficult to cover those costs.
And I think that there's two things that Dave mentioned. I mean, there's the recovering your costs, but then there's also staying competitive with what the other, and if none of the cities are recovering their costs, then, and we decide we want to do that, that puts us at a disadvantage. But I think, I mean, Larry brings up a good point. I think we get into these conversations about cost recovery quite frequently, and we really haven't seen anything that tells us, you know, what is the cost for an average residential home, and what is the cost for, you know, an average business. And so maybe that's something that we can look at is, you know, if there's things in the works now, bring examples and say, okay, here's something that came in as an average residential home, and we are going to get $1,000 out of this, and here's in general what it cost us to put this together.
And and that's we look at it. We have to look at it in a global sense.
Right.
We just had a session to try and kick off visioning and heard some valuable input regarding that and how we develop. There are communities within Johnson County that are forgiving fees and so on for homes. So it is a you know, it is something that you know, we need to look at and understand what our philosophy is toward that and how we do it. There's those that view that if you know, for example, KCP&L does not charge up for electric. We do. So there's an additional lot charge that goes on. KCP&L looks at it from the standpoint that as soon as they put wire in the ground and a meter on that house, it's revenue every month. So you know, they view it as in a different way than we do. We look at it as a you know, kind of a cost plus sort of approach. And you know, philosophically, you know, as part of visioning when we get through that, this is what you know we want. And I agree. I think we should set a policy in a direction that we want to follow as a community, and then let the staff work with that and provide recommendations based on what's going on in the market.
So one last question. That $73 per hour, that's the rate they quote everybody, any other cities?
To answer that, that's the rate that was quoted to me. We started off looking at a flat rate. We started off looking at an option where they would just collect whatever the plant review would be, which is a percentage of the total. This is considerably, actually we started off at something that would cost us around $17,000 a month, and between Mr. Mallard and I were working, he said, now this is the fairest way to deal with this, is an actual cost. And all I can say is the county stepped up, basically was there to help us immediately when we needed backup, hooked me up with the gentleman that's doing the inspection. We would, otherwise you would have been stuck with me trying to do plan review and inspections for building codes, and that's not my business. I did do 2 inspections, so let's say that.
No, what I'm hearing you say also, David, is that the county offers us many more assets than what we have locally under the circumstances.
That is correct.
For that $73
That's correct.
per hour.
So how would council like to proceed with business item number 2?
I move that we authorize the city administrator to execute an interlocal agreement with Johnson County to provide building code administration services to the city.
Second.
Motion for Gorsuch, second Harrison, that we, or excuse me, motion for Freeman, sorry. Second Harrison, that we approve new business item number 2. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. New business item number 4, review the ordinance 2296, which was passed, creating the electric utility board. This particular item has no recommended action for this evening. This was intended for review review and to have discussion, ask questions regarding this ordinance.
I've got questions, but I can't seem to find that item. I don't know. I've got written down here. Got it? Yes.
Okay.
On, in section 1, where it talks about, the board shall have powers and duties possessed by the city to construct, acquire, expand, and operate the utility. I'm just curious what kinds of things can be acquired. And I don't know, who am I asking this of?
They cannot purchase land,
Yeah,
but I mean, as far as
their own trucks or equipment,
trucks, wire, equipment.
people, hired.
Right.
Okay.
So are we gonna answer our own questions, or are we gonna have somebody with EUV, or?
Well, I mean, it's our ordinance, so I
No, I
guess, yeah.
understand, but I mean, just to,
So, yeah, the DEV, they
as a fair
certainly,
shake.
they certainly saw that this is an agenda, item, and somebody from them.
Oh, Randy Tetris here.
Or is Bill's on here?
What did I ask?
Well, let's see. Oh, on page, the second page, so section 2, paragraph G, it talks about meetings, and it says special meetings can be held as required following appropriate notice. I'm just curious what notice is required by the electric utility board to have a special meeting, and we,
So they'd have to play by COMA rules.
I mean, the ordinance that we have applies to the council, not the board, I don't suppose. So, just curious how much notice they have to give, and
But I'm not sure about that, but so we're talking about that particular item. We do have conflict with council meetings sometimes being held at the same time that electric utility board meetings are being held. And the guy that goes to electric utility board meetings and planning commission meetings and stuff like that, I'd like to see it, and, should it, if we are going to make any changes, I would like to be able to attend meetings for other boards or committees or commissions. It'd be nice if they weren't conflicting with council meetings.
regrettably, you don't have any control over that. Because they're on board and they decide their own meeting dates.
Do we know if,
Well,
we're reviewing the ordinance, so, do we know if the UUB has adopted anything similar to what we would have had for new business item 1, that would have been governing body rules of procedure? That would probably answer these questions if they had anything in place. Do we know if they did?
No, I don't know.
Don't know, okay.
Under section 3, paragraph B, it says the director shall serve at the pleasure of the board and shall have such authority as delegated by the board where it is not in conflict with the ordinance and administrative policies of the city of Gardner. I was curious, is anyone actually monitoring that to make sure that pay scales and the pay ranges are within the scales, and that if there's any raises given, that they're within the confines of the policy manual? Anybody?
Well, part of that goes back to what Chris was saying, is that, attending those meetings would be, I think, part of the, means to monitor, as you say, and I think Mary, has had some interaction with Bill and his team most recently, around your question, Larry.
Well, and you provided us with documentation on the salary study that kind of, I think,
Yeah,
outlined
But
that.
addressed it.
have they been able to follow, or have they been required to follow the policy